Hello there, everybody. Welcome and strap in because we're going to be here for a minute. I started designing a game that I'm going to go ahead and put together in Unreal Engine 5. And it occurred to me that since I'm doing pixel art for it, I should probably record what I'm doing for a couple reasons. One, somebody might find some value in what I'm doing. And two, it'll keep track of my progress to see how good I actually can get by doing this. So, anyway, I guess I'll just get right into it then. As you can see, I made a few ships already and things, and I'm going to keep this all 16 by 16 art. Everything that I make is going to be in 16 by 16 spaces. It's not all going to be 16 by 16. Like this square you see right here. This square is going to be part of the UI, but it needs to be repeatable. So it's going to be cut down into 16 by 16 blocks. So each one of these blocks is 256 pixels. But because of it being a part of the UI, it's going to be bigger. So, you know, it'll be all of these squares all the way around. Each part will connect to the other with a 256 by 256 pixel block. It's kind of like building in Minecraft in a way, but imagine being able to paint your own textures. Which, if anybody has modded for Minecraft, it's pretty similar. You make a texture that repeats, and you UV unwrap it onto a block in the JavaScript, and that creates a new block for you to mine or whatever you wish to do with that in Minecraft. I don't think this is going to be very complicated. This is just going to be a simple game to try to get me into the flow of using Unreal Engine. I'm used to using things like Unity or Godot because I understand syntax better than visual scripting, personally. However, Unreal Engine, in my opinion, has a better monetization model, and Unity, even though theirs has changed, there's always that thought in the back of my head that they might go back to retroactively implementing their old price change that everybody left on. Basically doing what the CEO of Unity was talking about doing, and doing their whole runtime fee thing. I don't really want to have to deal with that later on, and Godot, unfortunately, doesn't have the same partnerships and things that Unreal Engine has or Unity has. And the problem with that is, for packaging out for anything like Android or consoles or anything like that, there's a lot of back-end work that you have to do. And I've tried packaging out a game on Android in Godot, and for some reason my computer just wouldn't create the key that you need in order to tie to the game, so that way you can put it on the Play Store, and the Play Store can read it as a video game. Anybody who just uses Unity and doesn't know this, when you create a game for Android, you have to generate a key, and Unity does it inside of the engine. So does Unreal, but Godot does not yet. Probably will in the future, and if it ever does, I'll probably switch over, because GDScript is actually extremely easy and extremely similar to C#, which is what I'm familiar with. Anyway, none of that is what this video is about. So, but just a little bit of background why I'm using Unreal Engine 5, if anybody has any questions on why that's the case. And learning a whole new engine at that, because I've made one game that was not successful, that nobody heard about, in Unreal Engine, and this is kind of my attempt at making another, and this time I kind of want to keep myself on track and on board, because the dream of everybody who looks at videos like this is to either be an artist in the game industry or create something cool for them and their friends, or make some kind of income off of making video games. And I'm one of those individuals who hasn't had any guidance on how to get into the gaming industry. So what I did was I actually turned around and started doing pixel art, because it is an art form that is more technical than artistry. Don't get me wrong, you still have to have the fundamentals of art and color, but it's an art form that's actually really easy to start learning, and to me it's very fun. It's more like 3D modeling than it is drawing on a piece of paper, which I am awful at drawing anything. People might fight me on that, but I still believe that I'm not fantastic at drawing. That being said, I do enjoy doing pixel art, I do enjoy 3D modeling, but I need a small scope game that is going to be fun, and I caught myself playing match 3s recently, like a lot before bed, and I found a pixel art game on the Play Store called 1 Million. That's literally the name, it's the number 1 million on the title, and it's actually really, really fun. But I said, hey, I could do pixel art like that, so that's why I'm here. So I'm going to start recording this, and I'm going to kind of talk through my process. Everything that you see here currently on the screen, I am going to use the same techniques and create the aliens, the other UI parts, the health bar holder, or the health bar. I haven't decided on that yet. I think I want to have a health bar with a number that's going to be displayed over it, which all of the displaying numbers and all of that will be done in the game engine. That way the numbers can change, and I don't have to come up with a whole language for the numbers to upload. I could do that, but I think that's just extra work that you can just let the game engine take care of. As well as the health bar. The health bar, you want the game engine to have a flat color that it uses to stretch, and any kind of shininess, or like what I've done here on the tops of the ships, where you see the glass, that kind of shininess you want to be stationary, and whenever the bar fills to those parts, they'll show up. Otherwise the background will be black and you won't be able to see that shininess, so it'll look like the shininess is actually part of the health bar, not part of the health holder, when in reality it's part of the health holder. You just can't see it until there's color. And the reason for this is you never want pixel art to be stretched. You never, ever, ever, you want to keep it as close to what the resolution is that you created in, and let that be the resolution that appears on the screen in 4K or on the cell phone. And with pixel art, it's all about the cohesion of the image. The individual pieces, when it comes to pixel art, especially working in 8x8 or 16x16, you can scroll right in on these, and you can work on that just like that for hours, and it's still never gonna look right, because it's about looking good at a distance. So right here, close up, these are jagged, they're very blocky, they're very flat, but put them on a moving background with stars and firing bullets and things like that, an image starts coming together. When that happens, you actually have a more cohesive image entirely. This is something I struggled with, and a lot of artists say it's the same thing when it comes to drawing, and I can't wrap my head around that. But you have to do that with pixel art, because 3 pixels together doesn't look good. It looks like 3 pixels. But 3 pixels made to be... give you an example. We'll use this. Three pixels made like this looks like a repeating grass texture. See how that works? So it's about having a cohesive image. And believe it or not, just something small like that really works very well for RPGs, anything top-down, anything with like 16 by 16 characters. A grass tile like that might be the only thing that you need for an area. Like, I could see this grass being in like a swampy area, or an area around a graveyard, or even a park at night. These would work for all of that. But again, it's the cohesion. It's all about the entire image. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically going to lay out what the UI is going to look like, what each of the bullets are going to look like on the base form, what the match 3 materials are going to look like. I'll call them materials, which I'm probably going to change. I thought about leaving them in this form of like balls, kind of like, I was thinking like energy bullets. So like this is the energy that you mix together to fire that type of bullet. But then I was thinking that there could be a power-up that spawns another ship next to you whenever you mix them together. So like if you have a healing, like I was thinking of health bar because like the game 1 million they did a timer. So your health is the health and timer in that game are 1. So the timer's consistently going down. If you get hit, the time goes down faster. As you mix and get connections, the timer goes up. As you level up in the game, you can unlock different skills that when you open doors or treasure chests or kill an enemy, it increases the timer. I feel like for a match 3, that makes it way too intensive. It puts a lot of stress on the person to be fast. So I was trying to figure out how to alleviate that stress a little bit, but not give the player forever, because if there's no stakes and you just win, then that's not fun either. So I was thinking that the player will have a ship that moves back and forth across the, map. And it's going to be played vertically like this on your phone. And as the player's moving back and forth, like, you won't be able to move the ship. You won't be able to control the ship at all. It'll just naturally be moving back and forth. Whenever you match 3 of these orbs, they will shoot a corresponding bullet. And the corresponding bullet will do different things. So the blue bullet will delete 1 enemy. It'll delete 1 enemy. And you might have 10 enemies in a map. So let's say this is level 1. it'll spawn either 5 to 10 enemies on level 1. And in level 2, it'll spawn 5 to 15 enemies. And it'll go continuously like that. The reason for that is I can make a bunch of levels using that same code to just generate the aliens for you. And once you get to a certain level, so like it'll have a timer that'll track your level. You get to level 10, it spawns a boss on level, and that'll be level 11, and then you keep going. So you'll have your levels completed, but then you'll have your health bar instead of a timer. And as your ship is moving back and forth, these aliens are going to shoot at you. And I thought about just having it delete the player immediately. Like, the player gets hit once and they're dead. But that's like having almost an instantaneous timer. You could start level 1 in this run and die immediately, and you just have to restart. And that, I think, it will frustrate a lot of people. So the in-between I came up with was having a health bar. So your ship is going back and forth. The aliens will shoot one at a time, but there'll be a timer between how long it is that they fire. So that timer will shorten depending down to a certain amount, depending on how high up you get in levels. And I really want that to create a situation where your ship could get hit, but if it is hit, it's not instantly destroyed. You have some health to, absorb some of those hits. On the other hand, too, when you get down to less enemies, you can shoot. You can sit there and match 3, but end up missing an enemy because, let's say you got 1 left on the map and your character's moving back and forth. You can match 3, and then all of a sudden you're missing because you can't hit that one guy. And I think that will come up to the player to be good when it comes to timing, and look to make an opportunity for themselves. But that's just the basic match 3, do this. I also want a situation where if you match 4 or 5, it does something else. So this green one right here, I was thinking instead of it shooting a bullet, like all of them are going to shoot bullets, but if you match 3 of the green, it'll shoot a shot. If you match 4 of the green, it'll heal you. If you match 5 of the green, it'll summon a copy of your current ship. And this one right here is going to be your starter ship. And then these other ones will be ones that you can unlock by doing different things. That's essentially how I want the game to work. But the first step is getting the art that I can use, and then going into the game engine, using this art to make a 2D match 3 space fighter game. And so I don't know if it'll be in this video today. I don't think it will, because it'll take longer. I'll probably do another video, another recording of me doing this art to do the background, because Unreal Engine 5 is really, really heavy. It's a really heavy engine. It's got a lot going on the back end, and that's why a lot of people are probably saying, why don't you use Godot then? Well, that's because of the packaging ordeal. I want to be able to just select the engine I want to package out for, implement the controls, and spit the game out like I could in Unity. You can't do that in Godot. Not yet. You might be able to soon, but right now, if you're going to make a game for Steam or PC, 100% go ahead and use Godot. But if you want to put your game on the PC and on the phone with Android, or you want to make a VR game, I would definitely think about using Unreal Engine. And if you trust Unity to not go back to pulling their shenanigans that they were, then I would use Unity, because their monetization model isn't bad. It's a subscription model, and once you make 6 figures in a year off of a single game, then you have to buy their plan. But up until that point, it's free. Now, with Unreal, after you make $1 million, every sale after lifetime sales would meet $1 million, then you have to pay 5% royalties. 3.5% royalties if you exclusively release on their platform or release on other platforms at the same time as their platform. This game right here, I doubt will ever be that big. I'm looking to put this game out there for maybe $2.99, something extremely cheap, and I'm going to make a web version of it to go on itch.io that is going to only have a certain amount of levels to it. The full game, I basically want to have different levels, and then you can unlock an unlimited roguelike. Let me see how I can describe this. Basically, an unlimited run. You run until you survive, until you die, and what it'll do is once you delete all the enemies, it will spawn you in a new level, full health, and then spawn more enemies. And you just do that until you die, and then it tracks what level that you died on. And I'm not sure, beyond buying ships, what else I can do, but, you know, skins for ships are fun. And for a small game, I see that as, like, the big thing. But when I get into the coding, we'll see what else I can do as far as benefits from buying new ships or things like that. Like this gray one over here, all the way to the left will be your starting ship. And then maybe when you unlock one of the other ones, they have extra damage for purple shots, or they shoot multiple red shots. You know, they shoot 2 instead of 1. That sort of thing, which I'm sure I'll be able to do. I know I have a pretty good idea how I would do it in C#. Not 100% sure what I am going to end up doing with visual scripting, but it seems like visual scripting, even though I'm learning a whole new scripting language in that way, I think ultimately it'll be easier, because as long as you know what questions to ask, you can find the pieces of the puzzle to put together and make it do what you want. I mean, hell, you made Fortnite in Unreal Engine, so I'm pretty sure my little game here that I'm making, this match 3 time killer that I'm making, won't be too intensive, and I think it'll be a good way for me to get a handle on the fundamentals of Unreal Engine. Anywho, I've been sitting here wasting your time for about 25 minutes now, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, we have 4 shots, and I need a 5th because I want that to be basically 5x5 grid. I might make it bigger, just so the players have more room to do stuff, but I at least want 5 shots, and then 5 So it's 5 shots, 5 power-ups, and 5 superpowers that I need. So let's see here. We've got red, we've got blue, we've got purple, we've got green. I think we're gonna do a yellow. I think we're gonna do a yellow shot. I think that'll be good. So we've got this orb right here, and we kind of just want it to make it look like the other orbs. Oh no. Let's see here. Alright. I always make everything in separate layers. So I got my spaceships on one layer, match 3 ammo on another. You always want to have a transparent layer. And what that'll do is it'll make sure that when you go to package out your game or your game assets, it'll have a background where you can place it over other stuff. So where you see this gray on this 16 by 16 around the actual orb, that will all be see-through. And what that'll do is it'll allow you to see your background. So if I wanted to make this, and this is just going to be the plan for the UI, I think I'm going to make it like a ship console. I believe I just want it to be like a metal ship console, maybe some rust, maybe that sort of thing, some metal. I really want it to look like semi-futuristic, kind of like the Grenier from Warframe, kind of, or maybe a little bit more defined, not as like beat up as that, but I can make the space in here the same color as the UI, and it'll be like it's on a table, or I can leave it completely see-through and you'll be able to see the stars because I'm going to have a parallax background that's going to move vertically to make it look like the ships are moving. You'll be able to see those stars straight through the orbs. We'll see how it looks to see what direction we're going to go, but I'm going to make all of it so I have the options once I'm in the game engine. By the way, since I don't know how to use Unreal Engine 5, I won't be recording those videos. I think I'm going to do devlogs to show my progress, and the only reason why is pixel art, I understand a little bit. Enough to record it, look at reference images that I want to use for what I'm trying to make, or inspirational photos, and put pixel art down for that. When it comes to making games in Unreal Engine, mind you, this is only going to be my second finished game. And my first finished game never got any eyes on it. I think I got 10 downloads across the board. And then Google took it down because I didn't update it more, because I didn't have any income for it. I couldn't justify sinking more time into it. And some other life things got in the way at that time. But that's not here nor there. That game was Orca Eats, and it was a side-scroller infinite runner. The controls weren't modernized enough, I'll admit to that. And the game on its face was a decent idea. I don't think I didn't build a community around it. I didn't let anybody know about it. The people's hands that I put it in used to get like this small grin on their face when they played it. Like, it was fun. I still have the game, and I have it on one of my phones, and I play it. But that was also built in Unity, and I'm not going to use Unity for game design if I can help it. If I end up having to help somebody else on a game, because all for that, if somebody wants to hire me for 6 figures a year to work on their game full time, I will absolutely quit my job today and do that. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that's a very rare opportunity that only certain individuals get. So I'm here recording my videos, recording my progress, showing you guys what I'm going to do, and hopefully you guys will come along for the ride. Or, at the very least, find some value in what I'm actually putting out there. I will warn you ahead of time, I am not the best pixel artist, nor do I claim to be anyone that is even competent when it comes to pixel art. However, I enjoy my style a little bit, and I think I'm definitely not the worst pixel artist that I've ever seen. So, that's always a plus. Anywho, I'm going to, what is that? I think I'm just going to make this yellow one. And we're going to use this coloration for the shadow. And the thing about pixel art too is you definitely want to have the consistency. You want the light coming from the same direction in your entire image, or it's going to look off. So in this image, I am making my light come from the right. I can also flip it horizontally and make it come from the left if I wanted to. I just flip the whole image, and it will all be coming from the top left-hand corner. So you definitely want to use hue, saturation, and value, not hue, saturation, and light, if you're trying to keep the color palette the same but add new colors for lighting, light or darkness. With this color palette, I've already had a orange that I liked for the shadow. I did not have a light besides white for this color specifically, so I went to hue, saturation, and value, went down to saturation, and just moved a little bit toward the white, and that gives me something that I can work with, and, you know, keep them relatively the same. Here's that 3 pixel thing I was talking about earlier. 3 pixels, right? They look good depending on the image, not on their individual placement. However, every pixel matters in pixel art. You have to place pixels in a way that makes sense to the brain, because it's all basically an illusion. It's an illusion, and I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the final pixel art for my game. It might be. I might throw this out there just like this, and see how people like it. But I'm a very much a perfectionist type of individual, so if I think something might look better as something else, I will change it. It's kind of one of my flaws. Anywho, now the game position, I'm going to change this, because I was using that layer to basically lay out where I wanted things to be on the on the image on your phone. So like when you're holding it vertically, I wanted a clear image of where each of these things were going to go. Right now, the only thing that is on this layer is the black box that you see around where the player matches the orbs together. So I'm just going to turn this to the console layer. UI console layer. You want your layers to be kind of descriptive, or descriptive enough for you to know what they're supposed to be. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for... before I do that, let's make the bullet for the yellow. What should this look like? An arrow, maybe? Something about 16 by 16. It does not have a single... It doesn't have a single spot. I don't know if you guys can see this. But what I'm doing here, you only have 2 spots. You have 2 spots in the middle. You don't have 1. So if you had 1, you could make something look sharp like that. But since with 16 by 16, the dead center is 2, you kind of want to make your image so it incorporates that limitation. So if you want something to look sharp, you have to make sure that the thinnest part of your image is those 2 blocks, is 2 blocks wide. Now, if you want to put an outline on it, like I did these ships, that is going to make it stand out a bit. But as you can see, they still look kind of sharp because the rest of the ship is bigger than those two dots right here. Those 2 pixels at the top. So let me erase this, and I think I'm going to make this look like an arrow. So you always want to have the... Now you see, this doesn't look sharp. This looks like a crossbow. This looks like, you know, you could put a brown string right here, and boom, you have crossbow. And then you could put 1 pixel, a single pixel up here, and now you can cut that out in the engine and make that a single image. But when you lay out a sprite sheet in the engine, it's going to ask you what the cell size is. And the cell size is going to be 16 by 16. And so if you have that 1 pixel in a 16 by 16 square that's not in the dead center of the screen, it's not going to come straight out of the weapon, and it's going to look weird. And we don't want that. However, I will keep that in mind because I think that's actually pretty useful for, let's say you wanted to make a medieval zombie slaying game or something. That might be a good way to do it. A crossbow for that game. But you kind of want to make the arrow bigger than those 2 spots. Like that. Now it's sharp. It's still blunt, but it's pixel art. It gives the illusion that that is an arrow. You can clearly see that. Now the question is, should I add any kind of shadow to it, or lighting? None of my other bullets have any kind of lighting, but none of my other bullets are that intricate either. I think I'll leave it. I think I'll leave it like that. To kind of keep it the same as the others, because none of the other ones have any kind of lighting or shadow on it. They're just a flat color, which gives the illusion that it's energy. And leaving them that way, when the player sees that, they don't see the black line around it, they know that it's a bullet. That's another thing, when you're making game art, you want the game art for the different things to be consistent. like on a platform. You want all of your platforms to look like platforms that you can jump on. So you could have a grass platform or a dirt platform, but both of them will be the same shape, even though the texture on them is different. So this is another thing, making like repeating textures. You want to have a situation where no matter what biome the player is in, they'll be able to look at the platform and go, okay, I can jump on that. Some games do it by putting a red outline on all their platforms. Other games do it by leaving a outline off of the platforms, putting an outline around everything else. So like all of the stuff that you can walk on is got a black outline, but everything that you can jump on doesn't. That sort of thing. Or there was an 8-bit game that was black and white that I can't think of the name right now, that had the bullets be red, but everything else in the game is black and white. So it's a visual cue that the player goes, okay, that's what that is. Now I think I'm going to change to this one, because as you can see it's only 1 pixel wide, which can be a problem since it's 16 by 16. I've been looking at this for a minute. So I think I'm just going to turn it that way. And then this way we can go ahead and have it be in the dead center. Maybe a square? Yeah, I think that'll work. A single square. That way it looks a little bit more aerodynamic than a flat plane. A flat plane is just going to look strange. So now we have each of these. Now we want to go ahead and move these down. I'm going to see where, okay. So all of these are on the same. So all of these are on the same. So I'm going to move these down. You want to keep it in that 16 by 16 block, because when the game engine cuts them out, nah, I won't do that. I want the space. I want the space. I want the space to be between my ships, my UI, and my orbs. I don't want the engine to struggle with cutting my stuff out at all. And having a space in between, it takes more space, and good game engine practices tell you not to do that, because the empty space takes up more space in the game, or it doesn't look as professional, or I've heard plenty of different excuses of why it's a bad idea to have unused space in your pixel art. And I'll tell you, for the longest time I did it. I never had a problem with it, until I did have a problem with it. I had a pixel art sheet that didn't export correctly, and the only way that I could fix it was by having this space between my assets. And in Unity, it was cutting off. Like, I set the grid size to 16 by 16, and it was cutting off my sprites, and I couldn't put them back together correctly in Unity. But I spaced them out. I gave them one space apart for each thing, unless they were actually part of the same image. So like if they're a repeating texture, that all had to be part of the same square, or a platform repeating texture, that all has to be part of the same platform. I left those connected. I left those with no spaces between them. But things that had to be individual assets, like axes or swinging traps or spike traps or anything like that, I spaced out, and it made it easier to implement it in Unity, in the game engine. Because I did it in Godot, but I never had that problem with Godot because I did it like this. Um, it might be a psychological thing, and I could be just crazy, but I've had this problem, and I've fixed it by doing this. So, on to the next thing. I am going to leave my bullets there, my ships there. I really don't want my ships that close together, so I'll probably expand it, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You know what? I'll do that right now. So if you're using a sprite, you can hit the C button, and you can just increase your canvas size by however many pixels that you need to. And what that does is allows you to increase your canvas size at will, and it's extremely helpful. It is a very, very helpful thing. There's other programs that you can do that in, yes. I don't feel like it's the same as Unreal. I mean, I don't think it's the same as Sprite, personally. Because usually you have to go in and change the image properties, and then it scales your image, and it can break your image. Like in GIMP, I've broken an image trying to scale up my canvas. And I've had to restart the project. And, you know, sometimes things like that just happen, and people will tell you that. But if I can avoid stuff like that slowing down my work because I'm slow enough as it is, yeah, I think it's a good thing to make those practices normal. Alright, so we've got our... I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That'll give me the space I need. There we are. Boom. Now we have our bullets spaced out. We've got our ships spaced out. So now we can go ahead and make the match 4 power up for each of these. So the green one, I already know what I want for the green, so we're just going to go ahead and do that one right now. I want the green to be a health bar increase. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure it's even on both sides. So we go up here and press the horizontal symmetry button. And then we make sure it's in the center by placing a block. And then, let's see how I want to do this. Let's make the silhouette first. Let's just make a silhouette. And then we can figure out where we want to go from there. I want it to be obvious that this is a health bonus. Not sure if I want to... Not exactly sure if I want to... So that looks more like a shield. Yeah, it might work. But I was thinking the colors green and white for this power up. And anything like a black outline or a visual cue of any kind that I add to this will have to be added to the other ones. So, like, let's say I had a white outline on this, you know, and that looks like a shield. That looks like a shield. I think that might actually work for something else, you know. We just change the color scheme to whatever bullet that we put that under. You know what? I think I'm going to use that for blue. You know? You just, it just spawns this shield in front of the player, and it follows the player around. So we're going to need to change the color scheme from green to blue. So I think we're going to do that for the outline. And then blue and white maybe? Let's see how it looks with the this color in there. I think that looks good. Let's see it brighter. Yeah. Let's go like this. Maybe? How about this? Let's get that away. See how that looks. Oh, I've been doing this on the spaceships. Yeah, I think that looks good. I think it gets the visual cue across, but we need to change this to the match 3 ammo layer instead. I think I want that dark outline to go all the way around, though. I feel like that will be... yeah. See, now you've got that in front of the player, and I'll just make it, if a enemy's bullet collides with it, delete the shield and delete the enemy bullet. And that'll give a player, when they match 4 of the blue, it'll give them a shield that spawns in front of the player, which I think will be fine. I think that'll work just fine. Let's go back to making this cross again for the health. I think I'm going to use both symmetries so that way we can get it right in the center. So that's how you test if it's right in the center. You pick a corner and put a single pixel there, and if it makes a perfect square, then you're in the center. If it does not, like this, you're not in the center. So, just a tip to help you find the center of your image, because finding the very center of the box, it doesn't look right. It'll never look right unless you've got like perfect vision or perfect comprehension of depth, or depth perception maybe. Not sure what makes it perfect, but I don't have it, so whatever deficiencies my eyes have, I make up for with technology, and that's a good example. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I think that works. I want it bright though. I want it to be like the player sees that and they know they've healed, you know? I wonder if I should make it... I wonder if I should make it the entire length. Oh no, Control Z. Of the... If I should make it the whole length. move it up here. Move this down here. And these here. And then this way, just fill in the blanks. So, and that way, you know, the power-ups are all the same size. You definitely want all your power-ups and things to be cohesive, so that way in a match 3 you may not see when you match together 5 items. You only know that you match together 5 if you see the upgrade. If you've been setting it up, that's a different story. But that looks like a helicopter. Helicopter blades, so nope, I don't think that's gonna work for me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move this back in. And the selection tool, very good tool to go ahead and use to make your image, you know, you kind of just cut up your image and move it back and stuff like that. And you can see, you can test this if this is in the center by putting up the grid, because honestly, when I zoom out, it doesn't look like it's in the center. But I throw up the grid, perfectly see, it's dead center. So that helps. Make sure you're using those extra tools to make the pixel art easier on yourself. Do I want to have... Nah. Nope. I'll make it all seem like energy. It's all coming from energy orbs, so it'll all look like energy. Alright. So, match 5, I won't have to do a match 5 for the green, because I'm just going to have that spawn a copy of your ship next to you, either to the right or the left. And there'll be spawning locations, and they'll be numbered. So you'll be able to, like, see where if you play the game for a minute, you'll be able to understand where the spawn happens. Probably like 1 through 5. If you spawn more than, you know, up to 5 ships, then you just won't spawn anymore. Let's do a beam for red. Red's angry, man, so we'll do a beam. And what that'll do is it'll just shoot a line straight through all the enemies. So any enemy it hits, gets deleted. And I think that'll work just fine like that. Just make it repeating. Let's see if it repeats well. Yep. Repeats well. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that on the first try. Yeah, that works. That works for me. It's going to look silly. It's going to be great. They're just going to be firing a line like this jagged line. I could probably actually throw some... There's some depth in there, maybe. I feel like it's gonna clash. You see, this looks 3-dimensional now. Uh-oh. There we go. Kind of looks like 3-dimensional now instead of energy. This maybe a white outline. See how that looks. Let's see how the white outline looks on it. You know, give it some flair. You know, I want it to feel powerful. I want, you know, when the player activates it, I want the player to be like, "Oh my god, that was awesome!" You know, I really want the player to get excited. You know, like trying to get those red orbs in there, really trying to match those together, and like, you know, get their shield up, and then match together to set up a 3 for the red, or a 5. I mean, like a 5 for the red. Oh no, this will be a 4. Yeah, so this ain't even a 5. This is just a match 4. I mean, that looks like a chainsaw blade. I mean, essentially what it's gonna be is like a chainsaw cutting through enemies. Kind of like that. I think I'm gonna keep it. I think I'm gonna keep it like that. I think it's gonna feel awesome for players. You know, like, and that's, you know, that's really what you want to do. You want to create a visual cue that is just gonna make your... With video games, if you can make your audience feel something, not just bland boredom, you make them feel something. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, it can be rage, it can be happiness, it can be joy, sadness, hopelessness, loss, like, and there's a bunch of games that invoke all these different emotions. It's just invoke the emotion. As long as you can invoke the emotion, you will find people that want to play your game, that will go out of their way to play your game. And that's kind of what I want to do with this. You know, I want to invoke an emotion in players with this. And I think that is definitely the key. Oh no. Nope. I don't like how close together those are, though. I'm trying to think about how I can fix this. Fix this repeating texture. I don't know whether I should bring this up or bring the rest of it down. But if I bring this up, and then bring this up, you're running into the same issue. And then bring this down. Right? Still the same problem. Similar problem. Yeah. Too much time on it. It looks fine. It looks alright. But this is what I was talking about. It's about the cohesion of the image, not the perfection of it. And that's the big thing. You know? And you could animate this. I could animate this and make it basically shift and undulate. I don't know if I want to do that, though. But I think it'll look crazy. It'll look crazy regardless. For the purple, I was thinking like a spike bomb. Basically, it hits it's like just a bigger version of this. And it hits an enemy and blasts the rest of them. You know, with smaller projectiles. I think I want it to be even on both sides though. So we gotta be careful with what we do here. Because you can very easily make this look really janky doing something like this. basically like the Mario bombs, very easily make it look like something that you don't want it to look like. Take that how you will. I'm not really sure how I meant for that to be taken, but all I know is I want this to be spiky, and I want it to make sense, you know? I want it to be spiky and I want it to make sense. So those are the biggest things that I'm worried about right now. Oh, please. Like that, maybe? Let's see if we could go ahead and lighten up this center piece here a little bit. I'm just surprised I haven't gone to Google yet and started looking for reference images for these power-ups. And as you can see, pixel art, it takes a while. It takes a while to do this stuff. It's not easy. I know earlier I said it's an easier art form. Doesn't mean it's easy. Pixel art is very unique in its art style, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's like I said, it's like 3D modeling or sculpting. You're just consistently trying to come up with unique ways of bringing your idea to life, and it's very easy to start seeing your own style come out of this. You know, this looks spiky right here. Like I want to delete that, but that now it just looks like a giant square, and I don't really care for that. I don't really care for something that looks like a giant square. I mean, makes sense. If I cut these out and turn them into separate projectiles, they would make a lot of sense. Honestly, it would look like triangles. One thing that Sprite does not like does not like you turning things. Not at all. But that, my friends, looks a lot less like a square. So now all you want to do is you just want to fit it back into the box that you had it in. Nah, I don't think that's going to work out for me. Alright, let's try something a little bit different. We're going to go with a diamond. We're going to go ahead and make ourselves a diamond. Right? Now we're going to put a lighter, like a gem in the center. You don't want to bring it all the way to the edge because you kind of want to make a holder for it. If you're making like an inset gem, kind of like if anybody watches this played Oblivion, the Emperor's Necklace. It's a good example of what I'm trying to achieve. You know, you've got the gem set into that gold material that he's got around his neck. So you've got the base color, you've got the inset gem, and you want a in-between color. Don't fill the whole thing in. You want in-between color and kind of make that gem stand out. I could just straight up have gold in here, but I think that would look less like it's made of energy, and we want to keep everything kind of looking like energy here. So now that's an AoE. Anything that original projectile hits will be deleted, and it's large, so it's going to have a wide area of effect to begin with. And then when it hits, it explodes and shoots smaller versions of that diamond into the enemies around it. I mean, heck, that right there, if I had turned, actually, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Control C, Control, I think I'm not going to Control V that. I'm going to add a frame here. And I want this to be the first frame. Come on. And this to be the second frame. Alright, so let's delete this. So first frame, second frame. Alright, Control V. You don't have to delete it, that's completely for myself, so I'm not confusing myself. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color right here, the darker color, and I'm going to take the lighter color, and do that. So now we have this. Boom. Now we have ourselves a bomb. And you can slow that down. You can increase the frames. You really only need those two. However, if I wanted to new frame, let's see, 5 frames. Alright, so there's the 5th frame. So 5th frame, Control C, 4th frame, Control V. Now you have something that's a little bit slower. And in the game engine you can set that to be even slower than that. You can choose to have it stay on the frame longer than you want to. I can delete frame 3 and just have the 4 frames, and even that'll work fine. Frame 3, delete frame, and then play. Now it's a little bit more even, but you still have those 4 frames, and it blinks. I mean, what says bomb more than that right there? I genuinely enjoy it. That's a very easy pixel art animation to do, and there's so many things you can do with it. You can do flickering lights, you can do bombs, you can do street lights, you can do torches, you can do anything with fire, pretty much, fireplaces. It's awesome. It really is. Even with this, right? I could go to frame 4 on this right here, and I can take this color and hit G and change it to that. Same thing with frame 3. Now, what this is going to look like is this. Or I can go to frame 1, frame 2. Let's see here. Control C. Control V. Go back to frame 4. Control C. Put that on 2. And boom. Now it's a different, even though they're the same style of animation, now they're slightly different because of the way that you have the sprites lined up. And that's another reason why I absolutely love a sprite. Which I'm sure you can do this sort of thing in Photoshop and stuff like that. A sprite's a lot cheaper than Photoshop is. And the only thing I dislike about this program is the color palette system. I wish they had the color palette system of Inkscape. That's what I wish. And the reason for that being is in Inkscape you could assign whole palettes, whole gradients to a single purpose. So if you need 10 colors for grass, you can associate those 10 green colors, those 10 shades of green for grass. That is something you cannot do in here. So if you needed a color palette that you wanted to use for trees through your entire game, you would have to remember what colors that you used for your trees in your entire game. And if not, then your game's not going to be cohesive. You can always pull up an image that you have from your game and do that as well. And pull out your colors that way and that sort of thing. But, yeah, it's a nightmare trying to manage your color palettes. And there is an add-on. There's an add-on I did download for a sprite that's supposed to fix that. But the problem with that add-on is you can't dock it into one of these spaces. And because you can't dock it into one of these spaces, your scroll wheel doesn't work correctly in the ad. So, or in the add-on. So you can't scroll down, and the only way to see everything on that add-on that you assign colors for, because you can, with that add-on, you can assign colors to a group and name the group, whatever you want to name it. But if you do that, let's say you have 10 groups, you won't be able to see those 10 groups unless you have a monitor that is massive. I'm talking like 60-inch TV massive and only like 100% on the UI size. And that's about the only way that you can actually see the entire add-on, because the scrolling doesn't work for that add-on. I've tried it. Actually, I'll give you an example. Let's see here. There it is. A Sprite Companion. Color groups. So, you see these 10 groups here, yeah? If you try to do this, you can't scroll. It literally has to be the same size as your screen in order to see the entire thing. And forget quick references. They can't go down now. So that would be fixed if you could dock it up here. but you cannot. So, if you want to use this, this is the only, A Sprite Companion is the only solution that I have found to this problem. And making, I do not know how hard it is to make add-ons for this program, but that right there would be a feature that I wouldn't be the only one happy to have. And I guess this is a button they've been working on down here that they haven't added yet, but as you can see, you can make more than 10 groups. You make a lot. They're great. So, yeah, good job on whoever, I forget the guy who actually made A Sprite Companion, but it is the only solution to this problem that A Sprite has. So, there's the solution if you want to use it. It's just, it can be a pain. Fair warning. I've learned to just work without it, personally. Alrighty then, I think we got one more to make, the arrow. So we've already got an AoE, we've got a shield, we've got a healing, and what are we gonna do for the arrow? We can make it be a dud, whereas it doesn't matter if you match 4 or 5, it's just neutral. I feel like that people might feel cheated with that. Here we go. So here's what we'll do. We are going to make a scatter shot. We're going to make a grouping of shots. It's an AoE, in a way. But I think the visual effect will be nice. I think two wide on each of these would be good. We'll give us a little bit more space to work with. And I think I can make this essentially work like the beam, where it'll fire So, let's see what else we want to do for this scatter shot. I think we'll go to, yep, that would help. Control C, Control V. And this is another thing about doing your animations early, is you'll have to go back and fill in all of the, for making a new animation. If you're making a new animation in the same sprite sheet, you're going to have to go back and fill in all of the frames. So I recommend just coming up with the base idea in its entirety, then going back and adding the animations. I like to work in the animations as I work, because usually the idea comes to me right in the moment, so I just make it, so I don't have to go back and do it. And a lot of the time I'll go back and change something about it, but when you're making small animations like this, it doesn't really matter. And you've got much bigger animations, like entire character movements and stuff like that, Generally, you want to put them each on their own sprite sheet because that's going to be a ton of sprites for each individual character. And if you have all of your characters in the game on the same sprite sheet, it's going to be hectic. But there we go. Now we have our scatter shot. I'm thinking I might just put in a single square that just does this and spawn in the individual bullets in the game. That way, if one bullet touches something, it'll delete it, but you'll have all of these bullets going in a straight line, and they won't just stop. They'll hit one enemy, and then hit another enemy, and then hit another enemy, and hit another enemy. And it'll be a group of bullets all hitting enemies, rather than just hitting an enemy and then stopping. All of the bullets that you see here, they're different sizes, so they're gonna have different hit area effect. But essentially, the base bullets are the same. They hit one enemy, they blow up. So if there's two enemies directly next to each other, and you shoot like this purple one in between them, and they hit both of them, they're gonna destroy two enemies, but that bullet is still gonna be gone. I basically want that effect, but when you mix them together, they each have a chance to hit something. So I think what I'm going to do, I think I'll just go ahead and delete these and make a single shot. And I'll make a hit area box, a 2D hit area box, and just shape it around that single bullet. And then that way we can spawn them in an arc. And the reason why I'm making it separate from the arrow is because, oh, actually, that's a better idea. Yep, we're doing that. So instead of a scatter, it's still going to be a scatter shot, but it's going to be an arc, kind of like a fan of arrows. So we're just going to take this, Control C, Control V. What did I do? Control C, Control V. There we go. Control C, Control V. Oh, can I do that? Maybe. Control V? No. Yeah, I figured that was going to be the case. But it doesn't hurt to try when you discover new things. There we go. Now, it's different than the base arrow, but it looks like the same, except for it blinks. So now you have them going in an arc, you got them blinking, and that'll be enough visual indicator to tell that they're different. And that'll be awesome. I think that's good. I think we've got... Alright, so we don't have to make a 5 for the green because the 5 is just going to... the 5 plus. So like if you match together 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you match 5, you get the biggest ability. So let's, and mind you, if you have more ships, these things are each going to fire off from that ship. So if you match 5 for the green, you get that extra ship. And then you match a red, it's going to fire beams from both ships. However, the substitute ships aren't going to have any health. If they are hit by an enemy shot, they die immediately. They're easy. The reason for that is balance. They're going to be extremely powerful when you got one on the field, but extremely easy to lose. Same thing with this. So I can already formulate a strategy for this game in my head. We're going to try to set up a match 5 for the heal. Alright? While we're shooting off the blue and trying to get match 4 for the blue. And what that'll do is it'll give us protection from our health while we're healing and trying to get that match 5. The second we get that match 5, we're still trying to match 3 blue. So we match 3 blue, we've got 2 shields and 2 ships. And then from there, you can match whatever else that you want. You only have to match 4. Because if you match 4 for the bomb, it's going to go in and AoE away all of the enemies. If you match 4 for the arrows, it's going to arc, and it's going to destroy a lot of enemies. Probably not all of them, but it's going to get rid of a good number. Or the red beam, and since the ships are constantly moving back and forth, you could drag 2 beams through the enemies, and the beam is probably only going to last a second. So it's probably only going to last 60 milliseconds. Or 30 milliseconds, like a half a second. But that'll be plenty of time for both ships to go from one side of the map to the other side of the map and drag across that beam across all of the enemies and then clean up with the other ship. Whether that's the substitute ship or your own. Doesn't matter as it spawns on left or right. And these are all things that I keep in mind while I am making this, because you want to have the idea of what the game is going to look like while you're making this, because essentially you're making a level. You're just drawing out in pixel art the entire level of the game that you're making. And in this way, it looks cohesive. So when you're in your levels, it's always going to look cohesive. It's always going to be, this is where I match them together. This is where my health bar is. This is where the enemies are going to be. This is where my ships are going to spawn. And what this does is it creates a consistency, but with a slight amount of variation and unpredictability that gives players that anxiety. And that's what I want to invoke. I want to invoke that anxiety on top of the intensity of playing without them feeling too stressed about it. And you gotta keep a decent balance. You do have to keep the game balanced, or that too is not gonna be fun. And if you, I can't say that completely, because anybody who is a gamer will automatically throw Skyrim out there. But there's enough to do in Skyrim that being overpowered or literally being a god doesn't really make it any less fun. I mean, on one of my Skyrim profiles that I still play, I can just one-shot dragons because of the healing loop that I made. I didn't make it, but you know what I mean. The healing potion loop, where you take a restoration potion, increase your potion making, make a potion of blacksmithing, and then go to the blacksmith there at the anvil and drink the potion, and then make an iron dagger or a bow or whatever you want, and it literally does like 1,000,000 damage. It's dumb. It's dumb, but it's hilarious and silly. And that kind of stuff makes games fun as well. You definitely want to keep those things in mind. Like this. Shooting a red beam across a bunch of aliens is going to be insane. Or enemy starships, or whatever enemies I decide to put in here. I can tell you right now, you're going to have bosses, which are going to be probably 64 by 64 pixels. the mini bosses are going to be 32 by 32 pixels, and then the base enemies are going to be 16 by 16, the same size as the ship. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. And the funny thing is, I haven't seen a game like this that you match 3 to fire off your weapons, and then you don't control the ships. You don't control the ships, you don't control the enemies, and I thought this would be pretty cool, because if you get really high, really good at the game, you can time your matches together to hit what enemies you want to hit. You know, so if you've got one enemy left on the board, you're not just firing at random, you're lining up your shots with your orbs, and then you're matching them right at that second, and boom, shoot off the enemy, and you cleared the level, onto the next one. Alright, let's go. Like, I have the feelings that I want to invoke, and I'm trying to make a game that I think is fun, because if I find myself playing it, I'm quite sure somebody else is gonna like it. That's usually a pretty good indicator. If it's something that you would play, there's a market for it. If you're making a game for the market that you would never play, chances are it's not gonna be fun. And that breaks down when you get into people who've been doing it for 20 years, who know what type of analytics to do, or games that are successful. But I'm taking 2 games here that have already been successful and putting together. It's Space Invaders with a match 3 system. And my visual hook is pixel art. It's going to be retro, and I think it'll hit the nostalgia for some people. I'm hoping it will. But these type of like gem games that just come out that people never find are pretty cool. Like, they are very, very, very cool games, and I think more people need to make them. You know, like, I don't know how you do this with Snake. I have no idea, but I'm sure somebody can figure it out. Anywho, we're at an hour and 37 minutes right now, and we've made the orb, and we've made the power-ups for each of these. That's coming up with the idea, that's working through what the images look like, erasing, repeating, doing small animations, talking through the way that you want these things to show up, talking through what exactly the image should be, or how it's going to work in the game via game mechanics. We haven't made any aliens or enemy ships yet. I'm thinking maybe we could actually use some of these ships as enemy ships. I think that'll honestly be a neat idea. You know, and it's always going to be different, even if you buy one of those ships that you're fighting. You know, the other ships that you're fighting aren't going to be the same as yours. You might show up in a level where you have the same, but I think that might be cool. But I really want to make enemies up here and have them facing down. When it goes into the game engine, it doesn't matter. You can rotate these all you want, and it's not going to affect the pixel art fidelity. But if you do it in A-Sprite, if you try to rotate any kind of image in A-Sprite, it breaks it. However, you can use it to get some pretty cool effects, as you saw earlier. So let's go ahead and work on the UI console, and I think that will probably be where I call it after we get this done. What I'm doing right now at the corners is I'm making rounded corners. So if you ever wanted to make rounded corners, this, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. You kind of build out the rounded corner first, and then delete the pixels that you don't need. And that gives you your rounded corner. But now I'm considering if I want that black background there. You know what? I think I will actually keep these here, because it's not going to affect the color at all. Alright. So, any piece you want to keep inside of the 16 by 16 that I mentioned. I want this to look like a console. So what we're going to do is we're going to go look up sci-fi console on Pinterest. Alright, and let's see if we can get some ideas here how we can do a sci-fi console. It's good to look up UI as well for inspiration. That's usually a good way to find images for health bars, for mana bars, for stamina bars, for bag icons. But we're looking for the actual holder. You know, the background of the UI. Sometimes you can get some background UI from a completely different game. You could be looking at a UI that they have in a medieval game and want to do something like that for your sci-fi game. Or if you have, you know, something that you're making like StarCraft, but you want it to have more of a rundown feel, or more medieval, like wooden feel to it. You can look at other games. You never know where you'll get inspiration from. It's really hard to tell. It'll just kind of happen. Like this. Okay, cool. Let's forget the console for a second. And I just found what I want to use for my stars, for my parallaxing background. Now, with the stars, you can just make them and then spread them out in the game where you want them. And what that'll do is it'll make it real easy for you to make a compelling background without having to draw the whole thing out. At least I was going to make a parallax background, but there's many ways to do that. You can draw the whole thing out if you want, or you can make it a particle effect in the game engine. There's different ways to go about doing it, especially in a retro game. So I just found this image, and it's not 16 by 16 pixel art, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at where the lighting is on the image. I'm looking at how can I turn this image into the 16 by 16 art that I'm making. How can I incorporate this? Because I like the image, but trying to incorporate it because you like it is hard. It's not easy, but it gives you some kind of guidance when you have something to look at. So you find something you want to add, and you don't know if it's going to look good or not. Don't worry about that. You can always not add it later, or you know, and it does suck when you put in the time and the effort to make something look awesome, and then it doesn't fit your game, or you know, you find something better, or you're just not able to recreate it in the way that you want it to look, which has happened to me before. You just leave it out is the only thing I can tell you. When you're making pixel art, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to throw out. There's a lot of work you're going to put in and not be able to use. There might be work that you do for other people that they don't like. But, doesn't matter. It's all good practice, and it is very... That looks awesome, and I don't know if I'll be able to use it for the background because I think that might be too high detail. I think that detail might be too involved. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You know, I think if I just do white dots like that, it's probably going to be better. But I have it now, and I can use it for something later if I want. But I got inspiration, and I wanted to put it in there. So now we have an asset that we may or may not use, but it's there. This could be the match 5, too, for, even though it's under stars, that looks, because of the color palette, it looks an awful lot like these bullets here, so you can use it for that in some way. It could just fire a bunch of those instead of a bunch of arrows with a bigger hitbox. Same arc spawn, but just spawns those instead. Let's go back to the UI console. Let's go back and try and find some UI images. Looks like Pinterest isn't really doing me very good right now, so I'll just go to Google. Google Images. And you can always buy pixel art and do this and go straight into making the game if you wanted. But with this series that I'm making, this long form series, I'm going to be doing all the buttons, the icons, all the different things that you'll need. This whole game is going to be ran with a left click on your mouse, so that's the same as a finger click or a finger click and drag on the phone. That's how I'm basically going to make it compatible with playing in your browser, playing on Android, and playing on PC. It's all going to be the same control. If it works, if I'm able to do it like I was in Unity with Unreal, I'll be able to just implement a single control, and it'll accept that across the board. And yeah, shouldn't be an issue when it comes to controlling. However, like I said, I don't know how to use Unreal yet, so that's all going to be part of this journey. I'm thinking I kind of want 3 buttons here. You know? Kind of just leave it right here like this. I kind of want to... Let's make it gold. Let's make a gold... Let's make a gold kind of like a rustic console. Yeah. Something like that. Let's do... if you press B, you can switch to your brush or your pencil tool, which is right here, and then you can click in one spot and then hold the shift button and click in another spot, and you will it'll just drag a line to that. And I've got Pixel Perfect up here clicked, so that way it'll only draw 1 pixel instead of doing this kind of thing. Right here, where it's doing jaggies. Those are jaggies, you don't want those. Just letting the computer, figuring out a way where you can draw and just let the computer do the work and line everything up for you is probably the best way, in my opinion. I enjoy doing that because it's less for me to think about. It's way less for me to think about. It's, you know, and it's always going to come out clean. It's always going to look clean. The only time it's a problem is when you don't want something to look clean. Let's see here. And I kind of wanted circles, but I don't have enough space to do circles. So we're just going to do squares here. And, you know, it's just having like a little bit of flavor in the background. It's not meant to draw the player's eye or anything like that. It's just kind of supposed to sit there in the background. I think that's a little bit too much color. I'll definitely draw the player's eye. So we'll just go ahead and delete all of this that we just made. And G. Oh, nope, not what I wanted. There we go. Alright, so let's do kind of like silver, maybe. We'll do silver, and then we'll do like bolts. Do the bolts. Oh, you know what, actually? I think that works. I'll tell you why. So when I'm thinking about lighting, I've got my lighting coming from this direction, right? So I'm thinking of it in forms of a box. So when you're thinking about forms of a box, you want this part to be darker, and you want this part to be lighter, but you want the light to be hitting from this side. So in your outline, you have that light hitting the box from that side. And in the same token, over here, you have that same darkness on the opposite side. So I'm trying to think of the UI in that way, where you wanted to keep all of the light coming from the right side. So anything that's getting any light, you want over here to be darker, over here to be lighter. So we have that darker color that we use for the outline, but we want that to kind of parallax up. And you want it to be repeatable. You want to be able to draw this as big as you want or need it for your game. So repeat the tiles as many times as you need without it breaking. And you definitely want some interesting visuals to it. And you can see how easily that happens whenever you're doing this. You can really start creating some interesting visuals, and you can just keep on playing around with this stuff for hours. Like, we've been sitting here for going on 2 hours now, and I'm still just playing around with pixels, just pushing pixels around, just trying to get something that I like. And this takes a while, you know. This is why you go and buy pixel art, and pay somebody to do pixel art for you, because having to do it all yourself, if you don't have a budget, it's crazy. There is a good thing that comes out of it, though. If you want to learn the skill, this is a good way to learn it. By just actively doing it, watching tutorials, going to see Yana, Pixel Pete, or Adam Young, and watch their tutorials through and learn how they do pixel art and find your own style. It's not easy, and it takes time. It takes quite a bit of time. And not everybody has time. But if you don't have time, or you can't make time, you gotta spend money. So me, I have to make time. And I think this is a good day to do that. I think I might have to do that over the entire board. So, and this is something that you don't want to do. You definitely don't want to use the evening tool. You don't want to use the this right here, the horizontal symmetry or vertical symmetry, because if you have to do something different on the other side, you don't want it being drawn the same exact way on the other side. This is one of those times that you really want to make a repeating texture, a texture that you can just repeat over and over again without it actually looking like it's repeating. To make this whole image faster. I learned doing repeating textures, which aren't good. You can't just make a repeating texture and call it a day. You can for some things, but you have to have other things in that image to offset the repeating texture, because it gets real old real fast. Let's look at Terraria for example. You have plenty of repeating textures in there, with all the resources and things that you have to collect. if they didn't have those repeating textures and they had to draw out each individual square, it'd be impossible. It'd be impossible. But they have a bunch of different repeating textures making up the difference. They've got a ton of different materials and things that all spawn together to break up the monotony of the repeating textures. The same thing with Pokemon Grass. If you ever zoom in on the old Pokemon console games, like for the Game Boy Advanced or stuff like that, the repeating textures are crazy. They're super simple. And it becomes kind of monotonous. Now that I think about it, this is monotonous. And I don't think it's going to look right. I don't think it's going to look like I want it to. I want it to look retro. I want it to look like a beat up console. But I want it to look clean. I don't want it to look shabby, or I don't want it to look like a Mori. I don't want it to have that kind of like feel to it. Now if I was making like a depressing type like hand-drawn game, yes, absolutely. I'd want that feel. I want it to look like a Mori in that way. Or even what is that game called? It is. I actually love the game. I can't think of the game. I can't think of the name right now. It's Inscription. There we go. That is an awesome game with an awesome pixel art style. It incorporates pixel art and 3D in one game, and to me, that's impressive, especially for how seamless it is. That being said, not what I'm going for. Alright, so now we just need, I think that'll work for the console. See how it looks light gray. Let's see how it looks. Yeah? Yeah, with the orange outline. Deep red. Deep red console? Hey, there's another thing we can incorporate. Consoles to unlock. Black and red always looks good. No matter what. I think this is a tried and true. Black and yellow, black and red. That's just universal truth right there. That just looks awesome. Alright. So now we need a health bar. Alright. I was thinking something simple. It gets the whole game is pretty retro, it's pretty simple. I want something that kind of feeds into that. I want it to be simple, I want it to be retro. I want it to look like it's part of this. So we're going to use this box and kind of we're going to make it oh no, not what I wanted to do. We're going to make it easy. We're going to make it so it stands out, but doesn't stand out. That. health bar's not going to be there. I'm going to end up deleting this health bar. And then we're going to take this. You know? Something like this. Like that, you know, something like something really retro, you know, something that gets the point across and doesn't look too shabby. And see, the cutoff shouldn't matter here because it's inside the line. So like, I wouldn't want to take this P and have this white line here. You don't want that, because if there's any space that the game engine creates between these two, it's not going to look right. It's going to break it. However, H is pretty off the line. Let's do the same thing with P. Yeah, that looks a little wonky. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take this, just move this whole thing back and down. There we go. That way the 16 by 16 is right here. It's in the same realm. So now we go ahead and create that HP block. Look a little less wonky. Finish out our line here. You make this a little bit more intricate. Boom. You know? That sort of thing going on. We can even do something like this, where we draw over top, like this, and make that like that. So put that here. Make this transparent so we can put the health bar behind it. And you can do the same thing I said earlier from the pencil tool. You can do it with the eraser tool. So you just hit E to activate the eraser tool, and then you can left click and then hold shift, and it'll create a line. And it helps get rid of things quite fast if you're trying to speed up your workflow. Doing small stuff like that really helps. We can do something like that though, where, you know, the health is contained in here, and this will all be red. This will all be red in here with the health bar as it grows, but it'll create like a holder, and you'll be able to create the solid color, just the basic red color in the game engine, and stretch it out without having it destroy pixels. And since it'll be a flat color, it won't look any different than the actual pixel art. And what you can do here is you can make a new layer, and you want to turn down the transparency properties to about 50%, because you want to be able to see the health bar in the game engine through this. You don't want it to overlay over top of it and see it while the health holder is well, the health holder is empty. You don't want to be able to see this. So, oh, wrong button. So now it's still kind of there. So we can go in here and go into properties and turn it down a little bit further, about 30%. And from far away, that's actually pretty hard to see, and it's what you want. So that way, when you come in here and put the health in here, it appears. Not there, there. Not there, there. And you can still kind of see it. Trust me, it's going to be way harder to see from that far away on a console. Or if you don't know to look for it, it's going to be a lot harder to see. But as your glaring HP bar, I don't know if I like the HP holder, but I'll leave it. I feel like it should be a different color, or at the very least, let's not break it up from the rest of the image. The thing about black lines is you really only want to use them for breaking up different parts of your image. You can use it for other things besides that, but you definitely want to keep a consistency in your art style with it. Like, I guess it's actually been pretty consistent throughout this image. I have only been using it to break up different elements in my art, so I think that's actually fine. Yeah. I think that looks fine. And I can always come back and change it later. So now, I can leave this transparent. I can change the background to whatever I wish. Honestly, I haven't even found a console that I liked on Google. I just kind of did this with zero guidance. So that's another thing I like about pixel art. You can just push pixels around until you get something that you like the look of. And if you don't like it, you can always go back and change it later. It's your game. I know you probably don't want to go back and do all the work, but we've been sitting here for 2 hours and 13 minutes now, and you see all the stuff we did. Honestly, really wasn't a whole lot. Really wasn't a whole lot. It was more discussing, working through ideas, and if you're the type of person who can plan out exactly what they want in a game, exactly what they want to make for the prototype and stuff like that, right off the bat, I would do that and keep yourself on track. Look up all your reference photos before you even start and just knock it out like that. Me though, I'm more of a creative type who likes to kind of work through what I'm making. Let's make an eye, let's make a bat, let's make a sword, let's make a shield, let's make a beam, you know, that sort of thing. I'm sure you've caught on to the way that I actually work through my art and what I'm creating while I'm creating it. I don't come into the art with any kind of preconception. I kind of just let the art become whatever it's gonna be. I'm basically I'm not the architect. I'll put it that way. I'm not the architect of the design. The design tells me what it wants to be, and I try to get it as close to that image that comes to my head as I can. And if I get stuck, and I don't know where to go from there, I just look up reference images. It helps. Anywho, I think I'll call it here. We've got our UI block. It's repeatable. HP bar isn't going to be really repeatable, but as long as the cutoff is at the 16 by 16 block, it'll be repeatable. You can put the corners in the corners. You can extend these blocks out as far as you want. You can start and stop them with the ends. And that's what I wanted. I wanted, even though it's up to a match 5, I can have a 10 by 10 box if I want, and it's not gonna look any different. Actually, I'm gonna fix this real quick because I just thought about something that could go horribly awry with this. No. I think I'm gonna pull this P back. And then just go here, fill this in. Make sure you unselect or you're not going to be able to work outside of that. And then we're going to take the black, we're going to continue this all the way through here, or to erase this. Erase these. There we go. Now it's repeatable. So now you can make the health bar as long as you want. I think I'm going to go ahead and move the health bar to its own layer though. That way, I can make the console however big or however small I wish. And then I can put the health bar wherever I want in the game. Let's find out where it is. It's right here. No. Control X. Alright. C, bottom, 32, enter. Then we're going to take the UI console. We're going to roll this down. Then we're going to take the match 3 ammo. console, hit G, fill this in, go to the glare. Actually, just go to the HP bar and lay it right where the glare is. And now we have our space. I will get rid of this though. We don't need this. Oh, this. You want it to be on whatever background that it's on. Let's see what this looks like gold. I don't know what it is with me and this gold color. I just kind of want to figure out if I can use it anywhere else. Kind of reminds me of stamina, but I kind of like it. I don't know why. See, and this is very much getting the glare correct in the way that you like it is interesting. But I don't think I would do that because it draws the eye too much. You want the player's eye to be drawn to the health bar, not really anything else. And everything else around it in the background needs to be bland. So you want the player's eyes drawn to the orbs, drawn to the health bar, drawn to the spaceship, and drawn to the enemies. And that has to go with positioning too. So the orbs are going to be closest to the player, and they're going to be bright. Not the brightest thing, but they are bright. This will draw the player's eye to the orbs. And then right above the orbs is the player's blaring HP. Here you go. Here's your HP. If this hits 0, you're done. Then the player's ship. And this is how their eyes should be following the game, all the way up to the enemy. And having that visual read from bottom to top, from closest to the player to the furthest away, it'll keep the player from feeling overwhelmed. If you've got too much going on the screen at one time, the player will get overwhelmed. They will automatically have an aversion to your game, and it may even make some people sick. Not something you want to have in your game. But I did say we were going to call it there. I wanted to split those up so that way when we put them into the game engine, or when I put them into the game engine, I won't have to be fighting with lining anything up. I can keep it at 16 by 16. It should line up just fine, and everything should connect together without any kind of problems. Anywho, always remember to save early and save often. I've been hitting Control S this whole time. I'll have to look up a way to do screencast keys if there is a way in a Sprite. I will get right on that for future videos. You might not see it on the next one or the one after, but you'll see it randomly appear in the bottom left hand corner, hopefully in the bottom right hand corner since there's more space over here, or even on the canvas. I'm not sure where it's going to show up. I'll have to look into it. If I can't find a solution, I'll let you guys know. Anyway, hope you guys had fun. I know I did. And keep creating. Have a good one.